All right, right on time. Welcome everybody to EGPOA's October 2025 meeting of the Board of Directors. I'm Patrick Cannell, President of the Board. We have everybody here and on Zoom except for Joel, but I'll ask the Secretary to call the roll. Chris, you're on Zoom. Are you in a position to do that?
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Patrick.
Here.
Alana.
Here.
Joel is not here.
Correct.
Ken.
Here.
Leslie.
Here.
Mark. Mark, you're on Zoom. I see you. Dan.
Here.
Beverly.
Here.
Here.
I was just unmuted.
Lovely. Alex.
Lovely.
Here.
Sarah.
Here.
All right. And I think because I'm on Zoom today, I've asked Beverly to record just the motions, seconds, and any roll call votes. That can be hard to track on Zoom. Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We have a quorum. First item is approval of the minutes of our September 21st, 2025 meeting. Tab 1 of your board books, board members. Can I get a motion? There are no questions.
On motion.
Thank you. Second? Sorry. Great. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. All right. Nick, you're up for our management and maintenance report.
Okay, it's been a pretty busy month. Been working on the budget with Ken and getting all that process ready. We also worked through the quarterly financials, which he'll be reporting on. Additionally, we were closing up the pool for the season, getting some of our winter items ready, which we'll go through and getting ready to talk about. I do have a couple items for executive session later on for the board as well. But really just getting prepared and getting us set up for a successful winter here and looking forward to spring already. So
Did we have any chairs or equipment at the pool broken or?
we're pretty good. I think we have maybe one or two chairs that, you know, probably are a little outdated at this point, but no real need for significant purchases at this point. I think we'll be good for another season. I know that, and I'll leave it to Alana really to discuss under the Buildings and Grounds Committee. They're going to be really doing some big work and undertaking new processes to help us with that function, and some of that will probably start to fall under that as well. But we have some, new structure with the committees, and I think that'll really streamline the process for us going forward, especially in those areas. So definitely looking forward to it. Also under here, there's a notation about the capital needs assessment. It was something that you raised in one of our workshops, Leslie, and working and talking with Patrick over the last week or so. We put together a list of engineers and together a capital needs assessment. We have one modification we're gonna make, but that will be going out on Monday.
Great.
Okay.
And we are going to send to 5 qualified local engineers for a capital needs assessment proposal. One, to give us an idea of what it would cost to come in and evaluate all of our facilities and give us a long-range plan as to what we need to do. And then from there, the board and the Buildings and Grounds Committee can assess what, we want to spend money on and allocate money on, and what our long-term goals and needs will be before we start just throwing money at different projects here and there, and at least be able to have a sense of, where we're going. So we're going to be doing that process. We're going out to bid for that assessment proposal on Monday. Hopefully I have an answer back in about 2 weeks. So we'll be able to report back at the next meeting and award a contract for the assessment itself.
So just to be clear, 2 things. One, this is something we've talked about a little bit before, but in our budget discussions, Leslie, Dan, and others have rightly raised our capital needs. Understanding truly what our capital needs are, so that's what the capital needs assessment is meant to do. The second thing is that, we will not engage a firm without coming back to the board first, obviously, okay, that's a board level decision to make. I just asked Nick to draft the request for proposals, follow a sealed bidding process so that each bidder is blind of each other, and to make sure that we include local engineering firms in that process. Okay, question?
No, I'm good on that matter. My other, wanted to follow up on the mailboxes.
Yep, we sent a proposal down, so they have to be approved by the Worksboro
I
Post
said,
Office.
yeah,
We sent them down a drawing of what we propose to do.
Okay,
We're just waiting
yeah.
back on it, okay, but we still believe we can get that
yeah, they
completed
really gave
before
me the measurements that how high and how,
the regulations.
yes.
We
yeah.
did also find, there is a through like mailboxes.com and Salisbury Industries, they have the option of a pedestal style,
Yeah,
for
like a
lack of it,
cluster.
like a anodized aluminum
Yes.
style.
Yeah,
Which might be a little bit more expensive to purchase, but might be a little bit less maintenance in the long run. So we do have we're waiting on a quote on those, because we could buy 3 clusters of those. So I'm just waiting on the price on that, and those are like already approved by the USPS, so
yeah,
I'm just waiting on that quote to come back. We did ask for that, but we do have a drawing out to the postmaster on the other one as well.
Are these built out already, like?
oh, they are, they're clusters.
So if you went over by the dam, Ken, you'd see them, they're clustered, like there's one on the ground, it's kind of. It was constructed not in the best way, and they kind of all have different
Yeah, no, yeah.
styles, and it really just needs.
No, but I'm saying that the new ones, are they already constructed?
No,
So-
we would construct,
Okay,
yeah, and
so
make it nice.
in-house we would construct it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. Save money that way.
And I mean, if you're looking for those aluminum clusters that have the small little boxes,
Mhm.
you will need permission from the Wordsboro because they have to have a master key. for
Yes,
the mail.
they come and key it,
Person.
and then we would have to give keys to each of the individual homeowners.
Are we going to need a building permit from the town since they own the roads and we're gonna be?
So they would have to,
someone?
well, we won't need a building permit per se because of the fact they're already constructed. Mailboxes typically don't need a building permit. But I'll run it by Brian Benziger, who lives in the community, is one of the building inspectors, and just confirm it with him, but I don't think so. We just have to look at what the regulations are, because it is in the right of way of the road, but
Right.
typically mailboxes are exempt from any permitting.
And from the plowing too, you have to.
That's
put that
been one
into
of the issues.
consideration.
They do get damaged because of where they
Right.
are. But
Alright.
we'll report back.
Thanks again to Leslie for finding that solution, bringing it up, and
Of course.
it's been a long bugaboo, I think, for the community, so thanks again, Leslie. Any other questions for Nick on the maintenance alarm?
Yeah, can we have an update on the storage gate over here?
Storage gate?
Sounds like a scandal.
Yeah, we have a second quote that we just got back from the alternate company. As I had reported previously, we had a proposal. We entered into an agreement, we made a deposit. And then the company came back and said, we forgot something in the proposal and we're gonna have to raise the price. And we said, no, you can honor the price.
I
And
know.
we said, we're not gonna pay more. And they said, no, we can't do it. I said, okay. So the second price came in, it was, slightly higher than the first price we had. So, I'm gonna bring that back in
Next meeting?
next meeting, because I asked them if they could take another look at it and get it to, the other price, because if it is, then I don't think we need a second approval. If I can,
Oh, if it's under the same.
if it's under or equal, then I don't
Yep.
think we need a
Yep.
reapproval, so.
Then I have one more question.
Sure.
Last meeting, we brought up the piece of equipment that never got resolved.
I saw an email come in. late
Came in this
last night.
morning. Can you find me? I was looking through my email. Do you know what we paid for the equipment that we purchased?
Yes, give me just a moment.
The machine?
The machine, the John Deere.
I believe it was 15 flat, but let me just double check.
So it was like half of almost the threshold that we had allocated. Okay.
Do you remember when was that?
It was
Early
May,
May.
because it was right before the docks went in.
I thought it was 15, but
I'm pretty sure it was 15, and then we had a little extra with the, rush hog component, but
Okay,
the machine itself was 15.
15, okay.
But I can get you the exact number during, as we go on to the next item.
Nick, it was 18.9 with all the attachments.
Thanks, Anthony.
Yep.
Or preliminary with time save.
There you go. Helps when you have assistance on them.
Yeah. Okay. Alana, anything else?
So any consideration of the other piece of equipment would be an increased cost that also still falls under the threshold, but would cost more. So okay. So that's a further discussion of need.
Can I just clarify, and we kind of went through this last time, but the initial authorization was not a blanket authorization. It was an authorization to purchase a specific piece of equipment. So I think I realize this sounds a little technical and bureaucratic, but to move forward on any sale and purchase, I do think that we need another board vote. It doesn't have to be a difficult thing, but
No, just clarifying. Okay, thank you.
Were we considering another machine or something?
If you recall at the last meeting, Joel had mentioned a piece of equipment that Anthony and I had looked at. A resident, family member has a piece of equipment. They sent us again some information on it today, early this morning, that the piece of equipment is still available. It's a, believe in Indra.
No,
it's a
Kubota.
Sorry.
No, it's a Coyote.
Coyote, thank you, yes.
I'm trying.
A lot of valves. So that's refreshed and come up again.
Thank you.
We haven't made a formal decision on moving forward with that or another piece of equipment yet, so.
Is that something we want to do, board members, now? It sounds like the seller is motivated. I mean, I don't think it's a secret, the price has been dropped to 26,000,
So how much is it right now?
26, they would sell
The
it.
thing is that we gotta sell our,
We'd have to sell
We'd have
it.
to-
right, it's not something you can trade in, you know.
I know, right?
So that's gonna be either we're gonna make the decision.
Is there a
bite the
reason we
bullet,
can't?
Buy it.
Yeah, is there a reason we can't continue with the one that we have?
That's what I wanna understand is need versus.
At the moment, there is no particular reason why we cannot.
Right.
It has worked fine all year, or all season so far, and the solution regarding salt and truck, we have a solution and it's not, we don't feel we're gonna have a problem with that. Would it be nice to have a larger machine? Sure, but I don't feel it's like we have to do that today. I don't feel like it's an impulse that we need to just act on.
So,
Yeah.
we'll thank the resident for
Sure, and if it's
the
still,
offer, but if we're not
I mean,
currently in the market.
I think we'll say this, let us assess our needs and see where we're at and see what the future holds over the next month or so, and we'll report back at the next meeting. If it's still available, then maybe we can, act on it then, but I don't think we need to just jump.
No, I.
If you're gonna do that though, to Alex's point, can we have some,
There needs to be a plan for
indication,
what we're doing.
yeah, or
with the
even
existing.
maybe an offer from someone?
Do you want?
So we can just,
For
Get
the
that
other, we would need the offer, we would need to have an understanding with the other hours that were added onto the existing piece of equipment, how much that equipment can be sold for, because it would be kind of, you would be using those funds.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that would have to be an offset.
Yes.
And,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
any other questions for Nick on the maintenance and management board members? Okay, hearing none, let's go on to the financial review. Two big items that Ken will review with us.
Okay, the one is the budget variance. And I want to thank Nick for putting this together for me, because between the budget that we were working on and me working with the auditors, because things are going to be getting changed up, I put this together. Thank you, Nick. You want to put it up here, or it doesn't really matter?
We
Oh,
can,
I'm sorry, board members, this is tab 2 in your board books.
Yeah.
Are the various financial reports from the treasurer and manager.
That we were able to review beforehand, if you had any questions after I go over the budget variance. There was just some. Going down the list, these are the variances for the quarter ending September 30th. On supplies, There was a overage of, a little over $2,000, $2,190. It was a timing of purchases. Workman's comp, there was an overage of 6,242. That was, I guess, Nick, that was just from the unpaid audit. We had to play catch up with that.
Unpaid audit, and again, the timing. So one of the things that you'll see happens frequently is bills will be paid in certain intervals, and a lot of that is because of the fact that we budget out things on a 12-month basis. They're not always budgeted in the times in which they happen. So you'll see things like security, you'll see things like the pool. They're spread out over a 12-month period. And one of the things Ken and I have talked about when we set the budget up in Rent Manager, to make it a little bit more clear for reports going forward, when we know those expenses will occur at certain times of the year, we're going to put them into those times of year. So
Like the pool, it's gonna be lumped together in the summer, so it's more reflective of the actual expenses.
right,
And when they're incurred, instead of spreading it out over 12 months. Does that make sense?
right.
Was the workers' comp from this fiscal year?
No, there was a prior outstanding audit from 2022 that for whatever reason was never completed. So that was,
So we wouldn't have budgeted for that anyway.
that one you would not, that was only a piece of it. The remainder of it though, however, was the payment of comp that was due, which came in the middle of the year.
Yeah, so that's.
Just like when we paid our insurance back in February, it made the insurance line look as if it was significantly over in February.
I've just put it on the screen.
But there's an
for
anomaly.
Correct.
board members in the room, and on the screen is the
Variance.
variances.
Okay, where was I? Did I say pool operations, $3,542? It's the timing we just talked about. The vehicles, there was repairs to the dump truck. Oh, just went off my screen. Security, 9,449, timing difference. Okay, building maintenance. Items not properly budgeted, and first aid supplies. And the grounds inclusive of payout of time for grounds employee, $2,028.
What does that mean, items not properly budgeted?
So I don't believe anyone, or it was not accounted for, that we've been paying for the AEDs and the first aid supplies out of our buildings maintenance line, in addition to our actual buildings maintenance. And that's one of the items that we've broken out. And in addition to that, we had our building maintenance items such as the repairs that we had to undertake over the last 10 months, well, 9 months, now we're in 10 months, but our last 9 months hit against that line. So there's never been like a clear breakdown in Rent Manager, and one of the things that Ken and I did is really started kind of identifying what items fall in what buckets, and this was also like, for instance, dues and subscriptions. Many things were hitting lines that just did not make sense that they were there. One of the items that we also found was like janitorial, for instance. That line, while it doesn't appear right now in the financials over budget, will be over budget for the year because that was not properly accounted for.
So is this an allocation issue or is it just a budget?
It's an allocation and it just it was not a proper budgeting, but they can be adjusted and cleaned up by just knowing, you know, what our costs are and monitoring.
So do-
much better.
Due to the like monthly costs and the subscriptions of the AED, how much of the buildings, grounds, or the repair and maintenance line is being absorbed by those?
So of that, just by itself, the buildings maintenance line for AEDs, first aid supplies, fire extinguishers and our fire inspections was almost $11,000 just for those costs.
Chris?
Isn't it like 20?
Just a clarification, in previous budget years, I know that the cost of AEDs was included under the equipment leasing, or was under the same leasing line that we put our gym equipment in. So I don't know that if that's on the other end, if it was being coded differently as it was being paid out, but that's the money for the AEDs was in the same bucket that the gym equipment has been in. That's where the money for that is.
that may be what we approved. I think what I'm hearing, Chris, is that that's not where it ultimately ended up budgeted in rent manager, correct?
Right, and I think when we go and break down we'll look at that lease line, but when we go into that lease line, if we break that down, there would not be sufficient funds in there right now.
So
Okay.
probably what, 70% of the budget currently is being occupied by? Yeah, that's pretty significant.
That's why we've moved them out in the new budget to
Okay.
the safety and security line.
All right, any questions for Ken?
But I'll look into that, Chris, thank you for that info.
Any questions for Ken on the variance? Or anything on the monthly financials?
I mean, you can always email me after looking at the
Yep.
financials.
I'm gonna take this down from the screen.
And that was for quarterly, and
Yes, totally.
so it's not necessarily for the month.
Okay, are we good to move on to the proposed budget? We'll do it.
Did we want to approve the financials?
Oh, yeah, thanks. I'm in such a hurry. Thanks, Dan. Can I get a motion to approve, posting of just the monthly financials? I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that passes. Board members, at the end of that packet, tab 2, by the way, is an email from our auditor, our auditing firm, discussing their view on how to circulate information with banking and routing numbers on it. And that it should really just go to Nick and to Ken. That's fine. They want to follow that security protocol. But those figures and all those records are available to any board member. All you can do is just ask Nick to come into the office and take a look. To that point, I want to make sure too that like, for example, in the board book, we have a lot of financial information. Forwarding that outside of EGPOA emails, especially like Gmails, for example, poses a security risk. So just want folks to think about that. And I mean, I've done that. People say, can you forward me the board book? And I've done that. But just so folks are aware that that is an increasing security issue. Our auditors are paying attention to it. I know our management's paying attention to that too. So
I would hope that nobody would do that, but I think the reason why that information was shared. There must be a discrepancy between the auditor and the accountant, because the auditor in 2023 was the one that recommended that the board review specifically for journals and. So
the board is to review the journals and all those items are there.
you were just talking about the bank
The
statements.
bank statements and the check, because the bank statements contain the actual check copies, what the accountants are saying is they don't want the bank statements forwarded in the emails anymore.
Mhm.
And that was raised by them.
And it's not just our routing number and all that stuff. That's
No,
on there. It's
it's-
everybody we do business with.
it's great, it's just confusing because you got the auditor saying one thing and
Well, you can review them, they're here, they're
No,
literally here for your
I got
inspection, anytime, so.
Yeah,
But
I
I
think
mean,
they
it's
both need to
just
get on the
become.
same page.
I think the problem also is that our IT provider or our IT consultants red flagged that payroll documents had been circulated outside of the network, and that was a problem too.
Really,
Yeah, so we have to kind of make sure that that stuff does not leave the core here.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that that stuff stays within.
why would that happen?
I think.
Board members
things were a
don't-
little-
don't
things were a little more
entirely-
informal in the past. I think we're
Yeah.
trying to.
We have to
Get
kind
better
of keep
at
it
this.
tight and keep it within the
Processes.
system. It's because sometimes our emails are not always simple and, you know, it's just simple to forward to yourself to a Gmail account and have it on a different workstation or on your iPad or. So we want to just make sure that
I can
anything
get
like that.
the emails on my cell phone. I don't need any other extra protection, but I can get it on my laptop. So if you
Well,
wanna
we can
work
help
with me
you.
afterwards.
Yes, absolutely. We'll help you get set up.
Okay,
Small question, we're going so fast sometimes.
sorry.
Graylock Electronics, what is that? That's like a new vendor or something I've never seen.
They're the ones that updated and fixed our camera system.
Not East Tech.
Correct.
Do we have a new vendor?
For our cameras, yes.
Thank you.
Gray locks, yes.
All right, any other question on the financials? Moving on to the budget tab.
We'll have I would like to, sorry, Patrick.
That's all right.
I will bring that up for me in executive session. So-
Okay,
Thanks. I'll give you
I'll
more
put it-
detail.
okay, I am. Got it.
And I don't mean to be rushing
I'm just trying to.
through
It's
everything.
okay if we go
We
back.
got an over/under on the time today.
No, we just had, I know when we get to the committees, we've got some really meaty proposals to work through, including some bylaws changes that are gonna be presented in tandem with the proposed operating budget for our, well, presumably be presented if the board approves them with our operating budget at the second annual meeting. And Mark, I'll just tell you now, I'm gonna switch the order of lakes and bylaws just to keep those things together, because I think that we have consensus around some of those things. And anyway, all right, on to the operating budget, tab 3. Board members is the proposed operating budget. And for community members, we started looking at versions of an operating budget to propose to the community over a month ago. And with the hard work of Ken and Nick and every single board member who participated in our multiple workshops, which is where we met and went through literally line by line by line of the proposed budget, talked about big picture issues and sort of small issues so that we can get to a place where I think we have hopefully some consensus around a proposed budget. And board members, what you're seeing now is that latest version that was circulated by Nick and Ken. So Ken or Nick, do you guys want to present where we're at now? And
Sure.
then we can discuss, debate, hopefully vote.
Of course. So as Patrick said, we have all put in a considerable amount of effort in this document and have literally gone line by line. It does represent a 4.5% increase in the dues, bringing the total dues amount, including the 5% contingency requirements, to approximately $1,810 a year on a homeowner. And a total of, sorry, let me get the lot amount as well here. Emails floating around.
I'll just say for any newer members listening on Zoom or even in the room that, just a quick note on process. So today, hopefully the board will approve a budget that we will then propose an operating budget for 2026, which begins fiscal years January 1st. That we will propose to the community, and the community will vote on it at our second annual meeting, which will be on November 16th. Sunday, November 16th. And of course, we'll vote electronically. And folks who do vote electronically can cast their ballot in advance.
Can I just say that the increase is 4.5%. Keep in mind that inflation between 24 and 25, years 24 to 25, was 3%. So we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, so 1810 on a home and about $451 on a lot is our total increase. It comes out to just about $70 a year.
Okay. Any other comments and presentation? If not, we'll open it up for board member questions and debate. Wow.
Can you
Oh.
tell me the dues income expected? I know that is by 4.5%, right?
Mhm.
That is, so it would be to $1,280,000,
$1,279,129.
It's the one all the way to
round
the
it
left.
up, yeah, yeah.
No, the 280 was the prior.
And we adjusted our allowance too. What we did was we worked with the auditors. That's the second line there, 50,000. We thought that actually the allowance would be lower in percentage, and we went historically back 5 years and found out that a good estimation was 4%, not 5. I was actually thinking 2%, 2.5, but to my surprise, it was closer to 5.
When you say allowance, we're talking about the
Doubtful
doubtful
dues.
income.
Yeah, yes, I wanted to try to get that, I talked with Dan about that, and we're gonna try to zone in on a more accurate number, and 50,000 is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
We're gonna that historically.
So the proposed, just to clarify everything, the total income projected for 2026 is 1,338,765, whatever, which represented 7.9% increase. Due income expected to be raised by 4.5. Total expenses estimated at 1,328,265, with various lines item reflecting increases. Notable increases include payroll around 11.9% and insurance 6.6%.
Well, we're jumping here.
Keep in mind too, you would have a net operating income around 10,500, but the legal reserve comes right off, like a non-operating line right after that. So it brings you to zero.
Okay, so it will be 1,810 for homeowners, $450 for lot owners. And non-buildable lots, do they pay? Don't they have a quarter of a vote?
No,
Non-buildable lots, no.
Okay,
to Dan's point about the legal piece, we decreased the budget for legal fees in the operating budget this year. Because we haven't apparently been allocating out from the legal fund that we're requiring with bylaws to fund each year. So the thinking is we'll take from that legal fund, which is obviously what it's meant for.
are you talking about the line 3023,
Uh,
the life legal reserve, which is 10,500?
Yeah, I'm talking about that in combination with line 5210, which is on page 54 of the PDF.
Yeah.
So going from 20, we budgeted 26 to
50 to 3,000,
That-
30,000?
exactly. to 20.
Okay,
Yeah, so we dropped that.
okay. I think I have all the questions that I
Okay.
had
Any other-
for the budget.
Any other questions? All right, may I have a motion to approve?
I second.
Fantastic. All in favor?
I
Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. All right. Thank you, everybody. And thanks again to Nick and Ken for all the behind the scenes work and the board members for really drilling down on that. It was a great exercise. Okay, water company, Dan, I don't think you guys had a meeting, right? Your next meeting?
Yeah, our next meeting is in November.
Next meeting, November 19th. A notice will go out, so there'll be more news from the water company later on. Moving on to our committees, tab 4 of your board books, board members, is the current committee sign up. We circulated a link to the community for community members to sign up for committees that they want to volunteer for and be involved in. And Chris has put together results of that at tab 4, which I just want to make sure include the additional Lakes Committee people that Mark asked we include.
I added in Margaret Perkins and Connie Deng.
Okay,
And then
there's
Sarah,
one- and
Sarah
then-
would like to join the Buildings and Grounds Committee as well.
okay,
And there's
So
one
with that-
that was left out. Dan Brumbaugh, I had submitted also.
okay, for Lakes, right?
Yes.
Can I just suggest as general practice that for people to join a committee, they should ask to join a committee. Dan, do you wish to join the Lakes Committee?
Yes.
Okay.
So with that would, with those two additions, Sarah to Buildings and Grounds, Dan to Lakes. We just need to quickly approve the rosters, so can I get a motion?
I motion.
Great, I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Recusals, abstentions, hearing none, that passes. Okay. So as I mentioned at the second annual meeting, we'll present to the membership the 2026 operating budget. The bylaws committee met on Thursday night and talked about 3 different proposals. Those proposals I'm going to present to the board and ask for votes on. If they pass to the board, they will then go out on a ballot to the community at the same time. Okay, what we've done to try to make this boring stuff, but important, a little more understandable or easier to follow, I hope, is to break them out into buckets. So board members at tabs 10, 11, and 12 of your board book, you'll see red line version of our bylaws were last updated in August of 2023. So these are red lines against that current version. Each version that you see in front of you is a different type of amendment, each bucket of amendments. So the first one, we'll go over them in more detail, is a proposal to amend transfer and construction fund provisions. And I'll explain that in a second. The second is an amendment to increase the threshold for member approved spending. And then the third bucket are general amendments, cleanups, typos, things that we found, to try to make them more readable and understandable, including a definition of member in good standing. So let me come back to what is tab 10 and the first proposed amendment. This is something that the what was our old strategic planning and finance committee brought to the board in 2024. The board was generally receptive, but wanted the bylaws committee to review the specific language. And the idea is really it's sort of simple. Our transfer and construction fee, which is a flip tax, currently paid by usually the buyer of a home in the community, or someone who's finished constructing their home, that they pay a fixed amount, which I cannot remember this number, but it's in the $1,500 to $1,600 range. That's for a home. And then if you flip a lot, there's I think a $55 fee, or maybe closer to 60 these days. That fee can only be increased under our current bylaws when we vote to increase it by the consumer price index number, which really raises it just a couple of bucks a year. And the transfer and construction fund, as it sets out in the bylaws, is meant to help defray the cost, future capital costs of a growing community and an aging facilities. So when we need to add a new pool, or we need to upgrade our facilities, the thought is, in addition to potentially our reserve fund, although the reserve fund is a bit more distinct for things that are already existing and we need to repair, the transfer and construction fund is really meant to have buyers buy into the community with the notion that they're going to also participate in funding the capital needs. And so since 2019, I think, and we have a proposal, a little deck on this that I can circulate around with board members that will freshen up if it passes, and send out to community members when we do town halls to talk about this. But starting in 2019, because home prices almost doubled in Emerald Green, that static number made the transfer construction fee, the flip tax, a smaller and smaller and smaller percentage of the purchase price as we went along. It historically had been somewhere around 7+%. And then as home prices increased, it dipped down to almost 3% of the purchase price. So the thinking of this proposal is very simply to, rather than have a fixed amount of money, have it actually tied to the percentage of the purchase price or sale price of the home or lot. And going back to that historic number, we came up with 0.7%, which again tracks back to that 2019 number. And that's really the proposal. Chris, I don't know if you have anything color-wise that you want to add to that, but I will say that the bylaws committee discussed it and talked about, first of all, there's the question of the need for a flip tax in the first place, but look, we have it. So we just want to make sure that it's actually fairly funding. And then there were questions around whether putting it at a percentage, because that will increase the amount of the transfer and construction fee based on current home prices. And that's by design because we want to generate additional income as well. That whether that would harm transactions. And I think at least anecdotally, a few of us said that would have never stopped us from buying an Emerald Green. And we discussed that we talked to a few realtors in the past and basically the results were mixed as to whether it would or wouldn't. So with that, the bylaws committee unanimously passed the proposed amendment, and I'll open it up for board member questions.
So a $500,000 home with the 7%
.7.
yeah, 0.7% increase would be about $3,500.
Right.
So, because there's so many versions of the revisions of the bylaws.
Yeah.
Your proposed, amendment would be to what percentage?
0.7.
Okay. Okay,
I'm sorry, 0.7%, yeah, 0.7%. And that specifically amends Article 14. Just let me
For $1 million home, you add that percentage, that's
7,500.
big numbers.
those are big numbers.
Sure.
Well, you're better off
And-
just doubling what we get now
I mean,
and come back to this a year or two down the road and do it that way, then.
so I think that it kind of becomes an issue of fairness too, because if God forbid, home prices plummet, right? Then you're not saddled with a higher transfer and construction fee that's pegged to a certain dollar amount. Otherwise, we'll have to keep going back through this process, which is a process because it's going to require 2/3 of the
Each time you
membership votes.
it's an amendment.
Yeah, it's a good.
So if we tie it to a percentage, then it rises and falls with the market. And listen, as a lakefront homeowner, I get it. This is also
Yeah.
against my interest, but it's fun. I think it's worthy and I think it's worthwhile.
You're saying 0.7 or?
0.7.
Oh,
0.7%. So it's be 0.007.
A good way to think about it is like.
That's fine, I
$100,000.
did the math wrong, because I did 0.0, that person, like, no, that's too high, I'm like,
Yeah, it's 0.007.
I want to be clear
Because of the
about
decimal point.
the
I got it.
just a quick point on the effective timing of this, because that question came up previously, as well as this time. You know, obviously some folks are in the middle of a transaction with their house right now. If the members approve this on November 16th, we're not going to touch those transactions, right? It'll be for anybody going forward. And so we make that clear in the change as well. Chris, I see your hands up.
Yeah, I would just tracking back to something we discussed earlier in this meeting. You know, this community has grown significantly, and we're looking at engaging a firm to do a capital needs assessment. This board has discussed multiple significant capital needs that we have in this community, both in improving, you know, current facilities and potentially creating new facilities. You know, I would just say that if we believe that that's a real need, we need to find a way to fund those capital improvements, and the transfer and construction fee is the only viable way of generating that. The operating budget that we just proposed to the membership only covers operating costs. There's virtually no capital funding in there, at least on the scale of the needs that have circulated at this table before. If you're sitting here as a board member and you believe that that we need to engage in some of these capital improvements, this is the way. This is the only way that we have, short of assessing our current members on top of the assessment that they are already paying.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I should have mentioned that, you know, this is really meant to lessen the probability of assessments in the future. Very simple. Alana?
Okay, I agree with this, but I just want you to clarify, I'm kind of.
Sure.
Okay. Do we need to clarify what purchase price is, meaning like for the office's purposes? Because I don't know who handles this. I know this was a question when we had to switch over in staff.
Okay.
So does that include cash and non-cash consideration, like the recorded, like, do we need to clarify that the purchase price includes Is that an important note?
The closing price?
The recorded deed. You know, what is the person in the office looking at as that price to determine that, because we are setting the percentage here. So if we're relaying that information there, we need to have an understanding of what that
You
means.
mean, in other words, is it the gross sales price?
Yeah, yes, we should have some clarifying points around this for the office, I think.
It's a good question. I don't know, if,
Contract price of it, what are we?
Is,
yeah, I mean, if somebody
Is it
sells it for
complete?
$1, I guess that's a,
Because that's my next question, which is arm's length transactions, like you could transfer into like a, you
My
know,
son. I
family
mean,
or
my
whatever,
son,
right?
$10.
So that's what I wanna clarify.
yeah, I don't think that,
Would fall into this.
let me just look at the old language because I don't think it changes that.
We don't have clarifying language about it, so I think it's important to.
Because like right now, what happens if someone puts it in?
so are you
Yes.
saying in the event that the property exchanges hands for less than
I'm saying-
an appraised value?
I'm just saying there are actually two things I'm saying at once. One, we have to have an understanding, because I think you use the term recorded purchase price, right?
Right.
That's the term that's in there.
Yep.
I think there should just be a clarifying, what does that mean for the office so that they understand, for somebody who's, I think is, our office staff is handling this, they
Sure.
might not be
Right, well, because we're gonna say we need a document that
correct.
tells us what you're.
Cause the
Including
current,
any cash,
And by
there's a
the way,
non-cash
we
consideration.
don't
in that.
want necessarily the recorded purchase price, and here's why.
Yeah,
Because we want the money at closing,
yes,
and the recorded purchase price is going to come much later than at closing. And to Alana's point, you could have a situation where a deed gets filed for something significantly less, and then if this is a transfer like to a trust,
so that's a second,
There's-
right, non-farmers like transfers, right?
so the current transfer fee,
With the legal fees as well, and taxes and so forth, so that'll be a different price as well.
right,
So the
You're gonna tax them
current,
on, you're gonna find them on that.
so the current language, doesn't discuss purchase price at all.
cause it's a flat.
because
It's a flat fee for transfer. So in the intra-family transfer example, have we been collecting $16.50?
So that's my
Or a
other
quick
thing.
claim deed, something like that? I don't think we have, right?
So do.
A family, a
I'm not sure.
couple gets
but I would
divorced,
certainly
right?
have been.
Hang on, a couple gets divorced, right,
They'd have to
it
look
gets
at
quick
it.
claimed over to whichever spouse gets the house. Are we collecting on that? I don't think we intend to, but
We could set a fair market, something, or other. I'm just saying, these are things that I wanna consider before we put this through.
But that would probably be, I
Yeah.
mean,
no, it's
so
fair.
if. If there's a death in the family and then it gets transferred over to the wife or
The son or the-
yeah,
Yeah.
next to kin, like, those wouldn't qualify anyway, right?
That's what I'm asking. I would hope not, but I don't know. I would think we're not collecting on that, and if we're not, then the situation of a $10, sign over to your kid
Wouldn't matter.
wouldn't matter anyway. So we're really talking about bona fide,
Purchase.
yeah,
Purchase sale.
arm's length
I
transaction.
don't think that situation is more than great.
No, that's a gift isn't a sale. So if it went down to the.
It would be gifted in Alana's terms for $10.
That's not, it's not, yeah. Well, actually, even if it's just if it goes from parents to children as a gift, that's not a bona fide sale.
Or an uncle or.
Right, because the basis is the same as you transfer it, so if it's a $500,000 basis gift to the kids, it's still $500,000. It's just a transfer.
Scott Goldberg, who's on the bylaws committee, and a lawyer, just noted in the chat that we could consider the amount listed on the TP 584, making your.
the only problem with that, Scott, if you're able to come on the Zoom and talk for a minute,
Here,
the only problem with that is, we typically require. Just trying to think of the process of when we would. Get that, because that would be at the closing, it would be.
Nick, if I can interrupt, the way a
Go
real
ahead.
estate transaction will work is there'll be a contract of sale. it'll list the
Right.
purchase price. It doesn't matter if there's a mortgage, there isn't a mortgage. Say it's $500,000. And then assuming, even if there are adjustments, it's $500,000. The adjustments generally don't affect that. And then the TP 584 or whatever, if the form happens to change down the road, would show 500,000, and the person would pay, it's 0.4% in New York State, $2,000. So that's the amount you should use. You'll see it in the contract of sale. You'll be able to calculate it from the very beginning.
So we'll have to require them, they submit the contract of sale to us, because we don't require.
I think Nick's worried about the timing of them actually making the transfer fee payment.
Well,
The
that's too
second-
close.
Right,
The language.
But
Go ahead.
I'm actually purchasing the lot next door to me, and I sent into the title company a check for $604 for the lot. So at closing, they'll send it to you, and I got a bill from you saying that was the amount. So I don't think it's an issue.
No, I'm just saying for internal purposes,
Okay,
for
Yeah.
systems that we've talked about, we like systems.
Yep.
That's a good system to have.
I think it's a really great question, and especially we don't want ambiguities down the road, so let's clear them up now.
You know,
Um,
if you don't go through a broker.
It would still show up theoretically.
And they're recording
Let me say I'm selling the house for $1 million and I say, okay, I'll give you 500,000 cash, and my sale price is.
I think you still have to complete those forms, right, Scott? Even in a non-broker private transaction.
Absolutely. New York State's going to get that. And it'll also deal with the situation where if someone transfers a house to a trust, it would list zero consideration because there would be no change in beneficial ownership. And it would be an exempt transaction.
Right.
Or if it's a
Okay.
gift to a child, it would cover that also, would be a zero transaction.
Awesome. All right, so Scott, in your view, is recorded purchase price still the correct language to use? It
I
feels
think
like it
so.
is.
I
Yeah,
think so.
we
And
just have a policy.
follow what's in, follow what they ultimately paid. I mean, listen, we all know people can play games. It happens where they'll buy a house for 500,000 and they'll record 350,000 and things can happen. It's wrong, it's criminal, and it shouldn't happen. Or people could list furniture, paying $50,000 for furniture. But if it's a normal transaction and everything seems okay, then just go with what they give to the state, and that's it. That's my opinion.
In other words, it's gonna be rare that's gonna happen, more rare than usual. Right?
If it happens, they're committing a crime, and it's that's outside of our realm of, unless we feel it's totally, we know something about the transaction. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
I just have
All right.
another quick question.
Yeah, Alana.
Okay, so you know how we took out the language about reviewing annually? This is just kind of just asking. Right, we took out that the board will review from time to time, so 0.7 is the number that we're just fixing. It's a fix, so my question is,
Yes.
if we eliminate that language totally.
Yeah.
Do we want to put some language that the board will review this annually, the percentage number,
No.
or do we just leave it as?
I
No,
would leave it as
the whole
an
point of
action.
this is to take the board out of, to take the board out of annual decisions on this. Any subsequent change to the transfer fee would require a bylaws amendment.
And I want to say
So
that
I
that came
guess-
up during the bylaws committee meeting and in building consensus. Those of us who were advocating for this gave the assurance that we don't want the board involved in that for exactly that reason.
So the 0.7 number then was picked because.
Because that tracks to the historical in 2019 and before. That's basically what it was based on home prices then. It just became watered down as home prices increased.
Yeah, I think that's, and I think just underscoring that point that while I recognize that for many homes in this community, this change would effectively increase the dollar figure of the transfer fee, that when we think about it as a percentage of the home sale price, this is just asking folks to pay the same percentage they were paying back in 2019. So in 2019, the transfer fee was about 0.7% of the average home sale price. That's the reason for the 0.7%. That's the rationale for it.
I guess if the market like totally crashes and then the board will just review this, I mean.
If the market totally crashes, it still is tied to a percentage.
I'll-
That's the fair.
You guys,
Yeah.
you've all had a chance to read this proposal in the past. The market, if the market were to crash, two things would happen. Number one, that would lower the transfer price, so to make it more to lower the burden on homeowners. And number two, the calculations that I've done based on 400 plus previous transactions in this community would indicate that we would still break even or do better than our current transfer fee structure.
I would
So
actually say that if the market completely crashed, this, though I was initially reluctant to sign on to this, would probably drive more revenue than the other process anyways, because your transactions would increase because people would be buying those homes, so as those transactions increase.
Becomes more equitable.
Right. Back to
This is-
1650 would become
This is
more
a better, this proposal is
Yeah.
actually better, works better than our current structure for times of economic difficulty, and it's still structured in a way that would make sure that the association comes out whole. So it's better for everybody.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments from the board?
I motion to approve.
Yeah.
All right, Beverly, seconds,
Oh, yeah, so I'll do Chris and then, yeah.
okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it passes unanimously, okay. That's one of three, thank you guys. Number two, and I appreciate that you're bearing with me here. Number two is this is a tab 11. This is a series of changes to primarily two sections, well, three. Let me just jump to them. So Article 13, Section 7. Article 13 is the reserve fund. Section 7 talks about the member spending thresholds, as well as Article 14, Transfer and Construction Fund, Section 4. There is another tweak that I'll come back to, but these two sort of track one another. Very simply put, this is meant to increase the threshold at which we need to go to the members, the board needs to go to the membership for a vote to spend money either from the capital fund or, I'm sorry, the reserve fund or the transfer and construction fund. That may sound weird in the first instance, but we had some very real situations recently where we realized that the current spending limits, which are $10,000 period, or 17.5 in the case of an emergency, which then we still have to go back and get membership approval. 10,000 and 17.5 from either of those two funds was just totally insufficient for current market conditions to get repairs done. The real world example happened it was in around April or May, where we were experiencing pretty significant leaks to the roof of the entertainium, and it was very clear that the only option was to get it replaced. We wouldn't have been able to get that replaced under what I'm proposing here anyway. But the point is that it became quite clear that even some emergency or routine repairs, we would have to go through a really difficult and time-consuming process, even with electronic voting, to get those approved. So what I am proposing is raising those two thresholds from $10,000 for generally to use either of those funds to 50, and from 17.5 in emergencies to 100. I think the emergency increase, that's a big increase, but I think it's warranted based on what we know to be sort of how much it costs to fix things. I think that there are big emergencies that can happen that we would really be hamstrung in trying to fix if we didn't increase that.
When was the last time that was changed?
I haven't-
It's been forever? Like
Never.
I don't know. Never?
I don't,
It's
I can't find
been
it.
like that since maybe.
So it's over 20 years
2015
old.
or so.
15?
Yeah. So that's outdated, totally. The 17,000 is so outdated.
Think about if you got to call in a plumber and electrician to do any work, you're 20, especially in a building like this, it's not a residence.
I mean, 10,000 even in a house, honestly, like there are some situations where there's just,
Nick, in
No
the
way.
time that you have been here, can you give me an average of times in which you have been constrained by the 10,000 or the 17.5? Is it like 90%?
Well, I mean, the roof clearly was an example of when we had water coming and leaking, right? I have not had a specific emergency yet. I mean, I can give you
The machine.
a whole host of examples of where we
We
could have.
could,
you
but
know.
it's not.
it's not, but it's not to say it couldn't be, right? And like,
The
you know, we're starting to talk about things. We're talking about a pump, in the pool building. We're gonna replace a motor in the pool building. That motor is gonna probably cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,500 for the motor. It's gonna probably cost about $1,000 in labor. If that went down in the middle of summer and we had to call somebody in and ship a motor in quickly, that cost could be $10,000. Well, if you wanna keep that pool running, you know, there's an example of an emergency, right? If two motors go down, if we have a catastrophic electric issue, if we have a catastrophic plumbing issue, these things add up very quickly. And to not have that ability, you know, if a tree falls through a building, if a storm, I mean, we just last weekend, we had a potential nor'easter. You know, these are things that you just can't anticipate for. Air conditioning at the clubhouse is one of those things that it's like we've kind of band-aided it a couple of times now. If that goes down, that could be a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 fix. Could it go to 10? Sure. And I just don't have an exact figure for you until something, you know, major occurs, but.
Well, let me ask this question. What would be the downside of not making it 100,000? Would there be a downside? I don't know if there would be a downside. Would there be? I mean, it's full disclosure. We know what it would be for.
Well, the whole board would have to approve it, not just.
Yeah, there are multiple checks and
Yeah.
balances. I mean,
Here's the thing, a car goes through one of these buildings, are we stopping to fix this is the reality, I don't wanna live in doom, right? But somebody drives a car through a building, yes, an insurance company is gonna be involved, there's gonna be all kinds of pieces. But that fix is not gonna be $5,000, it's not gonna be $10,000. Is there a possibility somebody could drive their car through the clubhouse? Yeah.
so I recognize that on its face, this could be viewed or criticized as a power grab by the board, right? I get that. But I think we've tried to identify real world scenarios and situations where the current spending limits, thresholds just aren't gonna cut it. Dan, you had your hand up, wanted to recognize you.
How much is the gate?
That back gate?
Yeah.
You approved, I believe, 13,000?
There's one.
That's maintenance though.
That's
No.
not supposed to be maintenance.
It's not maintenance, that's not a maintenance item, that you approved, I believe, from TNC on that, because that's a TNC item and it's within the threshold of TNC, but it's still an
How
item,
much is the dam?
undetermined at the moment, but the dam is still gonna have to be a vote.
So the minimum repair on the dam, last I recall, was about $18,000 to $25,000, the minimum.
We have research for that,
We
You
do.
just allocate the funds, you would have to,
We have to go for a vote to do that regardless.
just like the roof is maintenance, right? But
We're also trying to keep these at a place where we're not taking that say away from the membership, right? Big items will go back to the membership for a vote, right? I just want to make that clear. Yes. Alana?
Okay. Why, can you just, I wasn't at the meeting, can you walk me through why you went from a majority vote to a super majority, like a 2/3 vote to a majority vote for the board for the $50,000 discretionary cap?
Yeah, just simply to get the business done. That's all. I mean, expediency, yeah.
Okay, wouldn't we all be agreeing on most of those things anyway?
I will say that,
Is there,
I'll say that this passed unanimously within the bylaws committee. That's the best indicator. If you're uncomfortable with it, I get
no,
it.
because you just said, I don't want this to come across as a power grab to the community. So I would assume that like to honor that kind of thing, that maybe like to, if, just speaking to that, just trying to add to the conversation.
Okay.
I don't know, I know.
well,
yes,
if
just
the
asking.
situation came up where you had to spend $40,000, it would be something that Nick would have to get quotes, bids, whatever that might look like on, right? Then there would be a discussion on it. Then the board would have to decide which option they were gonna go with. Then the board would have to decide if they were gonna approve it. Then somewhere along the line, somebody's signing a check. So I think that two people were signing checks, yeah, so I don't know that you've reached that.
I mean, look,
I'm just putting.
it wasn't a major point in the bylaws committee, but if it makes you uncomfortable and you think it will make the membership uncomfortable, I'm happy to entertain a motion to amend it and put it back to.
But it didn't come up as a discussion point at the time.
It did not.
Patrick, can I say something as an outsider?
Okay,
And have experience with this for a number of years. I don't have any concern with the present board, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay? But going forward, we've had, over the years, we've had situations where it was done that hurt the community. I'm not talking about the present board, but previous boards and so forth, and that number is considerably higher. I have no problem with that number for this board right here. But I might have a problem when you guys aren't here anymore.
So I have a point to that.
And you might have a different viewpoint.
There
So
should be
I
accountability
remember
from the
about
What's going on?
6-7 years ago, there was a discrepancy on what constituted an emergency. Now, I think we're all under the understanding of like what's an emergency, but when the clubhouse roof got repaired, I remember sitting at a board meeting where the board was fighting about how emergency funds were used for that. So
Yeah.
if we want to say to cover safety damage liability and use like more clarifying language about that, or I don't know.
in my experience with that, even those words
Mhm.
can then be debated.
Okay.
Unless you have an absolutely, you can have an absolutely defined term in the last one. People who might have one interpretation over another. That's just my view.
And then also just to clarify, because I don't remember what there's a cap on the annual, we can't use more than $50,000 of the reserve funds annually. It says that in there, correct? But is there a cap on the percentage of the reserve funds that we can use so we don't leave them?
No, nor has there ever been. in my
Okay,
readings.
so we can draw, like, but if we use 50,000, we could draw it down completely with we don't have to, there's no.
We could, but I mean, obviously, again, it's accountability, the consequence of doing something like that would not.
I'd like to make
Be
an
advised.
amendment to that, proposal.
Okay,
I would say 30,000 and 50,000.
30 and 50.
From
Okay,
10 to 30, from 17.5 to 50.
for both provisions?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second for that?
I think that's too low. I think it's too low.
Is there a motion on the table to amend?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well,
Sorry,
this is
is there a main,
points.
sorry,
Yeah,
clarifying
you're right.
procedure. There, Leslie's, I think it would just simply come as a main motion to, a main motion. There's no, I haven't heard somebody make a motion to approve the thing as proposed.
That's fair. So Leslie, just hang on one
Patrick
moment.
said that, that's why.
I appreciate the point. I just wanted to explain one last thing. And Alana, if you want to make a motion to amend to return that 2/3 from
Yeah.
majority, that's cool too. One other amendment that would go along with this bucket is under Article, where are we, 16, financial statement and budget sections 3, 4, and 5. I would propose to change the words sealed bid to blind bid, which, as I tried to explain at the bylaws committee meeting, this is something that came up during the last election period. And I think blind bid is really what we mean by that process. And I just wanted to clarify that. I mean, the point here is not that we have an envelope opening ceremony, but that we have, particularly in the age of electronic communication, that we have a procurement process where no bidder knows what the other one is bidding, so that if we are ensuring that we're getting fairness and the best price. That's that's a blind bid. See, I just did it. Blind bidding process. And so I would propose to make that change. We also talked about in sections 4 and 5, these are sort of little inside baseball, but raising from $500 to $1,000. The increase in any particular expenditure within a line item of the budget. I think the events committee was used as an example for that. Sometimes saying you can't go $500 over was a little bit constricting. But we still want to keep that restriction in place, but just raising it for.
We've never gone.
No, he didn't mean over, just making, if Nick had to make a purchase or somebody had to make a
It's
purchase.
for any single item, right?
And how long has that been in at 500 for years, correct? I mean,
Again, I think Leslie pointed out, at least is, I don't know that these have changed 2015 or something.
15 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, section 5 would raise from $2,500 to $5,000 the threshold at which the board's got to approve every single invoice. Again, we have checks and balances, we have check signers, we have our monthly meetings, we have treasurer reports and financials. There's nothing's getting by us.
No, when we had drill downs also now, that everything's computerized, you go right to the check and see the check, it's not like it's.
Yeah, I think this is just meant to sort of modernize things. So with all of those changes, unless there are any questions about those last bits, I will make a motion to approve this bucket of bylaws amendments. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dan. So are there any motions to amend, as I may have?
Yes. I'll amend the motion on section 4 of article, what was it? 14 or 13? 7 of 13. Oh, yes, 7 of 13. From 10,000 to 30,000 and from 17,500 to 50,000
Instead of 100, right?
instead of 100, correct?
All right, is there a second?
I just think I understand what your concern is, but I think it's just too low.
Okay. Hearing no second. Well, Chris? Nope.
I'll second and give it a chance for us to vote on it.
Okay. All in favor of that change, say
Can I
aye.
just ask a question?
Sure, yes.
Is that number more arbitrary, or you just want kind of like a middle ground? Cause if Dan thinks it's so low, would he agree to something that's more in the mid, like just to see it?
Yes.
Is there, you said, I'm just trying to,
Well, that can be done in a subsequent motion to amend.
so if it fails, then you can go up again.
Sure. So,
Use card.
Over here.
okay, so on Leslie's motion to amend, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. No.
No,
Any recusals, any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. Are there any other motions to amend?
I'd like to amend, I'm sorry, my computer just died. I would like us to.
Wait,
the
do you need
discretionary-
the yeses and the nos for that amendment? Like,
Yes.
okay, so
You want a
need to
roll call?
tell, yes, you need to tell me each person. So you said.
Okay. We'll
Well,
call
my
having been
always say
requested.
that, so I'll
Guys.
just Patrick first.
The motion in the minutes, it can just be the motion failed by voice vote. This is a recorded meeting. It's
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so we do not need
Motion
a
failed by
roll,
voice vote.
correct?
It's easy.
Okay, Ilana, you're up.
Okay, the discretionary cap, being a majority vote, I'd like to, majority vote, I'd like to change it back to 2/3 vote
Okay,
of the board.
is there a second for that?
I'm sorry, Elena, say that again.
I just wanna move back, instead of moving us to a majority vote, to go back to the 2/3 board vote for the.
I second that.
Okay, which
Also,
we're fine with. Yeah, so it's been seconded in the room, Chris. So all in favor of returning that from majority to 2/3, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
no,
aye.
Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. So that'll go back and I'll make that change in the actual document before we send that out. Okay, any other motions to amend? All right, hearing none, let's call the question on the main motion, which is to approve these changes as amended with Alana's amendment from majority to 2/3 vote required for any expenditure. All those, yes.
Patrick,
I was away, and I know I brought this up to Nick before.
What's gonna happen? I got a meeting.
We have a situation here that people that come in the summer and they move up here for, let's say, a month, 2 months. And now it seems like the norm is to bring a pod and park it in front of your house. So,
Okay.
when I brought that up to Nick, I said, Nick, I don't think we should have a problem if you're a builder and you need to have your tools there for the amount of time that it takes to fix your house.
Yeah.
But not just to keep whatever it is that you take from one house and wherever it come from, to bring it here. And
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's something,
We have that
our
for-
building
for
code
building
that
rewrite.
we can, double check on, and that issue is gonna come up. Not
Oh,
that issue,
I know
but amending the building code will be something that we'll.
Oh, yeah, some of the building codes, I figured this, we're talking about.
No, we're just talking about bylaws at the
The
moment.
bylaws.
Yeah, but the building code's a separate policy
Yeah.
and.
It's
yeah,
in the
deal with
rules
that.
and regs, building.
So, the question's been called on the main motion to approve as amended. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Is that for the 2/3, correct?
Correct.
It's
Okay,
with the
yeah.
2/3, correct. Any opposed?
Do you want to add a different threshold?
Any,
Yeah.
any opposed? Any
You want
recusals?
to?
Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Do you?
It's still got to
From you.
It still
Guys,
has to go to
the-
community vote.
Can I
Alright.
just say that the crosstalk in the meeting is making it difficult for anybody on Zoom to make any sense of what's happening in the conversation.
Thank you, Chris. Good reminder for board members in the room. Also, when we're in the middle of a vote, please don't try to further amend it. Okay, so let me go to the last bucket of changes, which are for sure the most boring of them all. So this is tab 12 of your board book. I'm just not gonna go through them all for the sake of time, but suffice it to say,
Wording.
yeah, this is just cleaning up typos and potential things that were a little awkward or odd or undefined, let's say. So.
I motion to pass.
I second.
Perfect. With no further questions or debate on those motions, happy to call the question. You do have a question?
No.
Oh, calling the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any recusals? Any abstentions? Hearing none, those pass too. All right, thank you, everybody. I know that was a lot to throw at you. And I have to come up with a really, a better way to explain that, all that stuff to the community. It is a lot of inside baseball, so thanks everybody for sticking with it. With that.
Can I hold a second?
Yeah.
Just make sure that when this copy goes out to the membership, one of these buckets from the bylaws change.
Yeah.
Were not a page, the number wasn't on the page, so just make sure.
That's actually, you're not gonna believe this, but that's actually one of the amendments in the third bucket. Our bylaws currently do not have page numbers. They would be amended to have page numbers. You know what, for formatting stuff, that's a point well taken. I think we can just take a little liberty and amend them and put page numbers in. I don't think we really need a community vote. For that. All right, let's move on to the Lakes Committee. Mr. Becker.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. I reviewed the last video. At the last video, everybody, not everybody, many board members had asked me to go back to the committee to ask for a no phosphorus on fertilizer. At that point, it wasn't everyone in the committee. There was no motion to pass or amend our last one. We just kind of had a discussion. So I went back and the Lakes Committee has unanimously voted to pursue a 2-year ban on all fertilizers. At the end of the 2 years, can revisit the ban to assess the progress of systems which are currently not in place. The systems that we spoke about were fountains and bubblers, rain gardens, runoff barriers. I have also provided the entire board with a legal basis for the fertilizer ban. We are allowed as an HOA to adhere to the New York fertilizer rules or exceed them. Fertilizers cannot be applied between December 1st and April 1st or within 20 feet of any body of water unless specific buffer conditions are met. Most homes on our lakes do not have these buffer conditions, which are like rain gardens or runoff buffers. We do have members on the lakes that already have this in place, but most don't. So without being boring or anything like that, I provided everybody on the Lakes Committee with the legal basis for the fertilizer ban, and it specifically says that HOAs are entitled to enact this. So I'm not going to just read it to you. I guess you can all read it for yourself unless you have specific questions for me to go over. I
I have a
forgot,
question.
Yeah, I think there are gonna be several. I
so
just wanna
there's
say on
gonna be
that
a lot
last
of
point about,
questions.
I just wanna say that last point about the legal authority, the statute that you're citing there applies only to municipalities. It doesn't apply to HOAs in the first place, but that doesn't mean that elsewhere in the law that HOAs don't have HOAs have a lot of authority, believe it or not. Many fiefdoms, they're called under New York law, have the ability to amend that. I just want to make that clear to everybody. I have questions, but I know other board members do too. So Beverly, you,
So this is to ban all fertilizers, not just like keeping with what we had talked about previously.
What opportunity?
Right,
correct.
so this is something completely different then.
This is not, yeah.
It goes farther than the proposal to have zero phosphate and basically
Yeah.
basically
Okay.
adhere to what the
That's all I
in terms of the
needed.
New York City.
That's all I needed to know.
Okay, Dan?
That's-
The legal basis, though, the state gives you the ability to go above and beyond, but you have to present like a something detrimental to your environment. I know that the phosphorus in the water is currently a problem. I don't know that the state would necessarily say that this,
I don't understand why we can't just do the no phosphorus one.
Well,
Well,
can I say something?
Beverly,
hang on,
let me
hold on.
address that for a second. The Lakes Committee, and I tried to
Sorry.
cross the Ts and dot all the Is from the last meeting. I met with Nick for over an hour and a half. And Nick is in agreement with me because what came up in the Lakes Committee meeting was that when you have to try to enforce a no phosphorus ban, it would be nearly, not impossible, but nearly impossible and very costly. And Nick and I spoke about this and we felt that a total ban, and we're only asking for 2 years because once we have no systems in place in this lake at all. There are no barriers. You have people that are adhering to it naturally right now. But Nick seemed to think also that a total ban would be much, much easier to enforce. So we're asking for it for 2 years. As far
Are there
as the
any
law is
detrimental-
concerned, it says HOAs, potentially HOAs may enact, like Dan said, more stringent fertilizer regulations than the state provided.
I don't have any question about your ability to do this. I completely get it that we can do this. I don't have any questions about that. I wanna know if there are any potential negative consequences of using no fertilizer for 2 years.
Okay, so I also provided to the board a document. If you look in the documents I said, I sent an overview of healthy green lawns may be maintained without traditional chemical fertilizers. And it tells you exactly how to do it. We have members of the board right now, and I will cite Ken, who does not use any fertilizer and has a beautiful lawn. So if you take a look at what I sent out to the board, it talks about grass clippings and mulchings and things that you can do on your lawn and still give you a beautiful lawn without the use of fertilizers. So
I mean,
I
I don't use
provided
fertilizer,
information
so
for that.
everybody knows. I'm just asking the questions.
And that
No,
was
no,
something that,
Sweetie, I'm sorry to call you sweetie. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
That's just my kind way. I apologize.
All right. No, it's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
all right.
I tried to anticipate the board's questions by providing everybody before the meeting with documentation that would help answer these questions.
Which I appreciate. Let me say a thing about process too. I mean, Mark took this back to his committee, which was what we'd asked him to do. His committee, as I understand from the readout, and I wasn't at the meeting, but I did read very thoroughly the report. Thank you, Mark, for that. Did consider what the board's viewpoint was at that meeting, and still unanimously elected to move forward with something that is more stringent. I get it. And Mark is bringing that back to us, as he's required to do. So just to set the table for that. I don't know, I don't love going this far just yet. I don't think there's a need for it. I appreciate the organic alternatives. Although I will say I will not be putting manure or dried blood on my lawn, which are among the suggested options. I'm being a little funny, but no, I think that the zero phosphorus in keeping, barriers and in keeping with the New York State runoff law would really give us a chance to see. I don't know how you're gonna enforce this over enforcing, hang on just a second, Bob, please, over enforcing a zero phosphate ban. So I'm not convinced that we need to go this far versus another proposal. I'm happy to say we should do something and be proactive rather than reactive. That I can get on board with. But I think there's a less extreme alternative out there, and that's just my viewpoint.
I shared with you, Patrick, and the Lakes Committee.
Nick,
An amended phosphorus ban.
Can I say something too?
I'll recognize Bob. We're going a little out of turn, but if you can be brief, please.
Well, I'll try to be brief. I served on Board of Lakes Committee for over 20 years and so forth. I have no problem on phosphorus. We were talking last month, they talked about the yellow signs. Back in 2010, when the state changed their rules of changing phosphorus, that's when I switched from local, which we still have plenty of people doing, and I went to True Green. I have a letter coming from them indicating that they use no phosphorus in any of their applications, okay? However, another thing that we forget is that the Department of Health has told us over the years that one of our problems was also the geese. And we used to have an allocation for geese, and we used to harvest the geese every 4 or 5 years, about 250 of them at a time, and we'd have them cleaned up and so forth, and we distribute them to the food banks for food. The geese.
Goose Roundup is in there is a specific line item for Goose Roundup in our budget.
Big concerns of phosphorus that the Department of Health has in lake water.
It did come up,
Yeah.
You know,
I want to respectfully draw this back to the board conversation. Dan, you, and then Alex, I see your hands up, then Ilana.
No, I was just sharing that I did circulate an amended, the last we met, we asked about like fine tuning what the phosphorus was to be more in line with, because you felt like the legalities of enforcing it might be a little, so I think I shared that with you some time ago. But.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't include it in the packet.
Nick, would you like to weigh in on some of our discussion about enforcement, please?
Well, Mark, hang on a second, because I did recognize Alex and then Ilana.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Teamwork.
Let's not forget that we also share our lake with Lake Louise Marie. So how do we
Enforce it there.
enforce it there?
We asked very nicely, I suppose.
I think,
That came up.
initial reaction is it does sound, a little more welcoming from what I've gathered. I didn't do a study yet, but from what I've gathered is that they would probably be more for a phosphorus ban.
And Mark, as you hear these questions, feel free to chime in. I'm only directing traffic in the room because a lot of folks are interested to talk about it.
No problem.
Ilana.
My question actually was based off of your letter to the community, Mark, under enforcement and compliance. I thought it was vague, so if Nick wants to answer that now, then I'll decide if I still have a question.
Happy to.
Okay.
So it is certainly easier to enforce an outright ban of something than it is to enforce a ban of a product that contains something or not contains something. So we'll be clear about that. It's easier to go and investigate whether or not someone is putting something on their lawn as opposed to putting something on their lawn that may or may not contain phosphorus, nitrogen, et cetera.
That's how we actually arrived at the no, it just
Correct.
nothing. It was because it's just too hard to.
It's much more difficult to ascertain whether or not a product contains an item, because then that would require testing. You visually can go observe them putting a product down and say, we are banning all items going down on lawns other than, for instance, seed, right? That was the nexus of supporting an outright ban as opposed to a ban of a certain product. I'm not gonna weigh in necessarily on which proposal, but I will say it is certainly easier to enforce an outright ban than it is to enforce a ban of fertilizers with phosphorus or fertilizers without phosphorus.
Okay, so then here are my follow-up.
Does that make sense?
Yes, but these are
Sure.
where it's vague for me. Routine inspections will be conducted. Does that mean our compliance officer is going to people's houses proactively to check?
If we go forward with this, then yes, and that will be the procedure. And also, if we do go down this road, we will have part of our ongoing discussion that we've had with buildings and grounds. There will be a process for reporting. If someone sees someone applying something to lawns, then there'll be a process for which they can report to us and let us know, and we will send someone out to check.
Okay, then my follow-up question to that is violations will result in fines and further action outlined in the HOA guidelines. We currently do not have any language on our violation schedule regarding this.
Well, if you have a weekend, then we have to.
That's right. So what I'm saying is, has there been a discussion before this? So we could see it on what the violation would be and what the further action
The
is.
state has established one.
So we would be, so what I'm saying is, does this ban say that we will follow the state's violation fee or what?
Fine.
Tell me what that is.
Dan has.
Alana, I purposely made that erogenous because I wanted to discuss this, and I knew somebody would bring that up. I really did. Last time when Dan presented his proposal, he put in a specific number. I just did not want to put in a specific number on purpose.
Okay, so Leslie has not had turn yet, and then.
I just have a quick question, Leslie, go.
Are we gonna have some, if we are gonna go to people's houses to test the soil, I guess, are we gonna have some type of machine like a PID to test that soil?
It would be to be determined. We do have testing equipment that the water company has that could determine whether or not there is phosphorus in the fertilizer. But we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about an outright ban, which you visually could observe fertilizer if they applied it within a certain proximity of time, if it's a pelletized fertilizer. If it's a liquid fertilizer, then we're getting into a whole different ballgame. But we're not there yet. We don't even have rules about.
I was
The
gonna
penalty
say,
will
because
be-
penalty, that was my next.
I mean, we're
question.
getting into like becoming a whole different level of compliance, in
Yes,
which
that-
case, let's go back and start working on the budget again. Cause I need about 100,000, guys.
So you just gotta-
The reason why the Lakes Committee is asking only for a 2-year ban is because we want to see that the systems that we put in place are working. You can always go back and say, okay, the systems are working, let's go for a non-phosphorus type ban. And maybe then we'll have more money in the budget or more manpower to do the enforcement. I spoke to Wolf Lake. I've been in touch with Wolf Lake a couple of times. They've completely banned fertilizer there for 20+ years. So I'm using a nearby lake as an example for us. And they have systems in place. They have bubblers in their water. They have rules about planting. Instead of giving, Rich, I see that you're on, Rich. Instead of giving plants to their people, they can either decide to plant themselves or they give them seed for free to their shareholders. While they're not an HOA, they call all the people around the lake shareholders down there. And the shareholders have to
Wolf Lake.
abide.
Wolf Lake?
Wolf Lake. And the shareholders have to abide by these rules, and they would have, and like our HOA rules, it's very similar though, but it's not a complete HOA. And last year, Mark Weller, who was in charge of their lakes down there, they had zero reported algae blooms because they have systems in place. We have nothing. So I'm only asking for a 2-year ban, not a complete ban for the rest of the community's life right now. Let's put some systems in place over the next 2 years. It's going to take time to plant along the edges of the lake. It's going to take time if people want to start with seed, for the seed to grow, because these barriers will help with the runoff tremendously. So that's why the Lakes Committee feels, besides enforcement, that there's nothing in place right now. So give us, we're asking, we, the Lakes Committee, are asking for only a 2-year with a revisit to put systems in place.
I'm gonna recognize Alex, then Chris has his hand up, and then come back to Leslie.
Okay, I'm a customer, I'm a True Green customer. So I expect that a company as big as True Green would know what to do, or what to use or not to use, what's good for lakes, what's not. Number two, you have lake whispery, so how do we enforce? They could do whatever they want, and we're restricted not to do something different. And number two, you mentioned going over people's houses. I just want to remind you guys, we had an incident here when we were putting our meters in, when one of the persons from the house came up to the guy who was putting the meter in, put a gun to his head. Did we forget that?
I don't recommend that.
Did we forget that?
We also have people that don't feel welcome.
Even though we had them arrested, but still,
Correct.
you know.
We have
That
to
is
do,
wrong.
we have to do water checking, right? And we
Yeah.
have people that won't allow that stuff to happen either, so.
Yeah, but we have to give it.
Tough,
No, we have to go.
I hear you. Chris, you had your hand up, and then I want to recognize Leslie in the room.
I would just point out there's no motion on the table, and in the interest of moving this conversation forward, if
Still
we're if we're going to be asked to vote on something, let's have somebody put a motion on the table so that we can move the debate to a close.
Okay, Mark, do you want
Yeah,
to pose a motion?
I make a motion for the 2-year ban, and according to our Lakes Committee, if the 2-year ban is not going to pass, then the second option was from the Lakes Committee to go with Dan's proposal.
Okay, so just for procedural purposes though,
You're the first.
you have to, there's no like alternative. You can make a second motion if you wish, but the motion, just to be clear, that you're making is for a full fertilizer ban. And by the way, that's fertilizer and pesticides, correct?
For 2 years.
For 2 years. Period. Okay, is there a second? Hearing no second, is there any other motion that you'd like to make, Mark?
I'd like to make a motion for Dan's proposal that he proposed to the board 2 meetings ago.
Okay, and just to clarify that proposal, Dan, I want to make sure the motion is clearly stated for the record.
It's for a no phosphorus ban on fertilizer between, and no use of fertilizer at all, I believe. Dan, help me out if I'm mistaken, between December and April 1st?
Adopted fertilizer rules in the proposal that I presented is understanding that nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus make their ways into the waterway through runoff or into the water table through natural phenomenon. EGPOA must make the following restrictions to fertilizer use. No fertilizer can be applied from December 1st to April 1st. No phosphates or phosphorus compounds can be used or applied to lawns or private gardens in EGPOA. Phosphorus packaging must be marked with a 0 indicating no phosphorus. Then we cite the 2 laws attributing to that. Section 3, or Part 3, homeowners are required to provide notice to all landscapers or contractors on the adopted fertilizer rule. And then Section 4, any homeowner who chooses to operate outside of this adopted rule shall be subject to violations approved by EGPOA directors. Such violations to this rule shall carry an initial violation fee of $500 and $1,000 for each subsequent violation. In addition to violations payable to EGPOA, homeowners can also be considered subject to civil penalties of the people of the state of New York. Essentially, everything that the runoff law carries is what we're adopting.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I second.
I will second
Okay.
it.
Well, Mark, you made the motion.
Okay.
I think 10 seconds. All right.
Can I make an amendment to that?
Hang on one quick second.
What's up with this one?
Yeah, just I want to make sure everybody understands it. You'll get time to make the amendment in just a second. I want to make sure everybody understands the proposal that's currently before us.
Again, you wanna fine me for, and I keep pointing to myself, but I know how much money I spent on my lawn. Then I'd like to keep a nice lawn. You wanna penalize me 500, whatever the amount is, but then again, you got two guys that live down the street from me. They can do whatever they want, so, how do we do that?
Understand, so what he's saying is, people outside of the association obviously have the ability to contaminate the water just as much as we do.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, I think the position we're in is we're trying to do what we can, inside the confines of the POA.
I would also say in that there is we're doing nothing more than complying with state law. Those neighbors, if they're doing something that is different from this rule, they're violating state law. Drop the dime. And if it causes, yeah, and if it caught, I mean, with the goal of this, right, is to keep a healthy lake. And so if for some reason the lake becomes unhealthy, or there are algae blooms as a result of runoff from those outside the HOA, then the DEC can become involved and help out. And I would assume maybe the water company is the one who enforces that. I'm not sure, but you know, certainly there are mechanisms.
And just to the side, even if we take half of it out, it's better than not doing anything about it, right?
No, I understand, but you got
And maybe
Lake
the
Louise Marie
next-
here, and you have
Yeah,
Emerald Green
I
right
agree.
here.
Alex, I
Yeah,
agree.
Lake Louise Marie here again, and well, you know,
And maybe the next step is a conversation with Camille to ask Camille to consider it on their side.
yeah.
And
By
the
the
only
way,
other-
Neil has been joining the Lakes Committee from LLM. And he was on those meetings and he will go along with that. He will present it to LLM and they will go along with whatever the board votes on.
Okay, Leslie, you've been paid.
My amendment would be to add some type of, if maybe is there and I forgot, permission from the homeowner to, for the Emerald Green agent to go and test. Cause we don't want another gun incident.
I think we
Okay.
have in our rules and regulations, the ability to enter
Access.
upon the property as it is for compliance with our rules and regulations. You already consider.
The guy that owns the property is coming out with a shotgun, he doesn't really
Right.
give a
That,
damn.
that is wrong. Look, we live in an HOA, we do have to recognize the enforcement
Right.
abilities, but
My,
the amendment is.
and point that somebody brought it up with Lake Louise Marie residents. We are creating a rule for us for Emerald Green so far. If this motion goes through, it affects and is into place for Emerald Green. What's gonna happen with Lake Louise Marie? And if so, because they get water from us as well, it will behoove us to invite them to either, you know, do one workshop with them, a big campaign, because this is affecting our drinking water.
I think Mark has indicated that there's receptivity from them to that someone from the LLM board has been attending the board meetings and is on board with this, so I think that the community outreach and education piece of it, at least as I understand it, would
Because we
include
might
this.
approve this, but they're gonna say it's too intrusive. Why
Well,
don't you just
it's not.
allow it?
You mean by testing, they're going on and testing
Their
the law?
property.
My response to that would be, well, it's the law. I mean, forget our rule, it's the New York State law.
Oh, can I add something?
That's what I would use.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's what I would use, and they're entitled to 800,000 gallons of water a day from us.
Yeah,
If
right.
that's stupid, fine.
I want to try to draw us back into board member discussion and debate with a motion on the floor. So is there a motion to amend, anything
Well,
specifically? to
Patrick,
amend? It's fine to ask questions and debate.
Patrick, before you take the motion.
Yeah.
Would you be kind enough to recognize Rich Brown? I think he wants to say something about this.
Sure, Mark. Rich?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Everybody's clearly missing the point. While the motion, if it's carried out, would be in play, we would immediately start an education program to allow the other community and our community to understand what we are doing and the long-term goal of that. Okay, it is absolutely necessary for our community members who bother to read anything, okay, to have the knowledge to defend the question why they are going along with it. We are a community and we need to do things for the community, and they have to understand that the board is going along with things that are in the best interest of the community, and it does not cost them anything to participate in this program. I'm living in the community 38 years. I haven't once fertilized my lawn, and I still have a lawn. The problem that we have in our community, and the biggest phosphate problem, is the geese. And we got to start the action now. But we also need the ban for 2 years, and the water testing that CSLAP is doing will acknowledge that we're making progress, and then reasonable people will participate. I'm not even in favor of fining people. I just want to get them out there knowing and encouraging them to do the right thing.
Okay.
Okay, can I say something?
Yes, Ken.
Okay, and right on point with Rich Brown, I think if we educate the community, most people are gonna honor that law. I don't think they're gonna go out and say, okay, well, I'm gonna use phosphate anyway. I think if they have the understanding why we're doing this, I don't think we're gonna have to go down and start testing people's lawns to make sure that, they're doing the right thing. I think most people are gonna do the right thing anyway.
I agree.
And not only that, but most major fertilizing companies, I know Ehrlich, my exterminator, only uses natural ingredients because I'm on the lake. They say they have to do it by law.
Right.
So most major fertilizers are gonna know that already.
Alana?
Just a question for Nick. With the given budget that we have for this year, is this a doable thing with what we have in terms of compliance?
Yeah, because again, it's not going to be this major undertaking, because it's really gonna come from Lakes Committee more as an education process.
And then
as opposed to-
just a clarification about violations. Is there usually a warning before a violation is given?
Typically,
So why are we going right to violate? Should we do warning like?
Subject.
What's that?
Subject,
What's that mean?
subject to violation. It's not straight. to
Subject to that, subject
So
to.
there will be to the education piece, there's a warning, then the 500,
It
then
says,
1,000.
my wording says subject.
Right, so that leaves us nimble to establish
Leaves it
that
open.
procedure.
Okay.
We can do that as a policy later.
Yep.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
good, all right. So no, I didn't hear any actual amendments though, Leslie, I just want.
No, that's fine.
Okay,
That's fine.
any other questions or debate from the board members on the motion that has been made and seconded, which is Dan's proposal for a zero.
I resent it to you.
Yeah.
If you wanted to share it,
Yeah,
I'll share it out. Difficult to do that on the fly. I think we all have a sense of what that is going to look like. It's consistent with the New York State runoff law. And the terms of the New York State runoff.
I say aye.
Okay, calling the question. All those in favor?
Should we do a roll call or?
Aye.
As a roll call being requested?
I request a roll call.
Roll call having been requested. I'll ask the secretary or assistant secretary, please call the roll.
Okay, so you want me to do it?
I got it.
You got it?
I got it.
I'll document it if you just wanna say it.
I love the teamwork. Let's do this
There
thing.
you go.
Patrick,
Yes.
Alana,
Yes.
Joel is not present. I vote yes. Dan,
yes.
sorry, Ken, I skipped you. Ken,
Yes.
thank you so much. Leslie,
Yes.
Bev,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
I'm the only one.
Am I missing anybody else?
No, I think you got them all.
Huzzah.
Thank you. Okay. Mark, anything else from your Lakes Committee report?
No, that's it for now, but I just want to say that the geese will be addressed, like you said, Patrick, it's already a line item in the budget.
Yeah, so we had done ag handling in the past, and I think the view is that that's just not enough, so we'll do that and Goose Roundup. Both are separated line items, or maybe they're lumped together as one, but Roundup is clearly mentioned in the operating budget. Hang on, Dan, Leslie had her hand up first and then Dan.
I don't know if this falls into the Lakes Committee or the management report, but I forgot to ask to give us an update on the weed machine operations, if any.
We're still awaiting permitting, but the machine is here and we had it in the lake, not doing any weed removal, but just making sure it ran and operated correctly, and it does, and it's now out of the lake and parked up in the upper lot if anyone wants to take a look at it today while they're here.
How long will that permit, if we get it tomorrow, and of course we can't do it now, how long will that permit last before it expires?
So it's a permit for the season, and then we also have applied for permits for the spring, so we will have them for the remainder of this year and then again in the spring.
Is that getting covered up there? Is there a plan for like, or does that get stored just like that?
It will probably, because the motor and such will be
Yeah.
covered, but it's stainless and aluminum, so
It's
it
okay.
can be exposed.
Doesn't need to be winterized, right?
Yeah, it will be before winter.
Okay.
We just took it out the other day.
A well-timed question. Dan?
Is there a report, Mark, is there a reporting or a process for the C-SLAT? I know that we're doing the test, but like, how does the state release that information, and then do we wanna create like a report? So that way we can track the information, or?
Well, the report does come back, and I know Brad has been sending the report to the office, so Nick gets the report from Brad.
So when do they usually send it back?
I don't know the date.
Cause I just haven't, seen any of those results come back yet, or?
I don't know the specific date, but if you go now to the member section of the website, you should be able to get
They're
to
up
the
there, okay.
links of the CSLAP reports. You actually can view all the CSLAP reports for all the lakes in New York State through the link on the website.
I'm just wondering how long it takes for them to get that back. If we send them out today, is it 60 days, 90 days?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the turnaround time is, but all of those reports are now available online, as well as the financials that we've been able to populate back to the site and the minutes as well.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, and thanks, Mark, for the report and all the work. Finance Committee, you guys have you met yet?
No.
Okay, that'll be coming soon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Building and Grounds, Ilana, this is tab 13, board members who report.
I attached the meeting notes from our last meeting, so if anybody has any specific questions, we just had our introductory meeting. There's a survey that went out to collect some data from the committee itself to kind of help drive the agenda for this, or the agendas for the coming year, and goal setting. We're not officially underway, so if anybody else wants to add on to the committee, that's fine. There were about 14 people at the first meeting, which included board members and homeowners. And I know I'm not reporting out to the larger community about that, but should we? I mean, it was just kind of like a recap meeting. Nick went over kind of recent projects. Homeowners addressed some specific things that they wanted to address during the year, like the pool and things at the clubhouse. I could go into more detail if needed. We also addressed the need for potentially looking at service contracts, reviewing bids, and some ongoing projects that we'll try to put kind of like a long-term, short and long-term goals attached to.
I think there was also like a question about what homeowners prioritize as upcoming project they'd like to see.
Yeah, we have that in the meeting, in the notes. So if anybody has any questions about that, and the survey will help clarify that.
Yeah, it's a big committee, it's a new committee, and there's a lot of organizing work, I'm sure, to be done as well.
On the front end, yeah.
I noticed there was discussion of amendments to the rental rules or revisiting the rental rules. Fine. To Alex's earlier point on the building code. That's something that just never got done in the old strategic planning and finance committee. But that and Nick, and I think Dan wanted to be involved in that too, wanted to sit down with the town of Thompson code folks and just sort of collaborate on revisions to that building code. But did that come up in your meeting at all?
So I had texted you previously, like if that was gonna, cause we took a pretty robust
Now I'm
approach with
perfect.
building and grounds, and I said, do you want us to include
Yeah.
this under us, or do you want this to be a
Right.
subset?
Now I remember
So
that.
part of the survey that I asked if people have any particular knowledge in specific areas. So maybe as we funnel through that survey, I will ask at the next
Yeah.
meeting if somebody wants to sit on I was thinking it would be a subcommittee because it's a large
It
project.
is.
So I will
Okay.
circle back with that. I just didn't know if you were housing it under me or somewhere else.
I think naturally under your committee,
Okay.
but,
So I will
I'll
circle
leave
back with
that
some people
with
then
Nick.
under
Okay.
that too, and then we'll kind of make it, because that is a huge piece.
okay,
Okay.
events and welcoming.
Okay, we didn't actually have an official meeting, but just there was an event last night. There was a potluck, which I think is gonna be an ongoing kind of either monthly or bi-monthly event. People are really enjoying those. They did karaoke potluck last month. Maybe the theme will change. Today there is an event in the clubhouse from 2 to 5. There's a band coming, the Treasure Mountain Band. And for any kids who want an opportunity to decorate a massive pumpkin, that they are not small pumpkins. We had a sign-up sheet, but we do have a few extra pumpkins if people are interested. There are treats and things to eat, so please head over there today. They're also attached to the two next yoga classes after this week. There will be a breath workshop also being offered right after. So if you don't go to yoga or you want to do the breath workshop after that, those will be coming up on I believe the 25th and the 8th at 11:15 in the clubhouse as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Before we move on to our member homeowner comments, while we still have critical mass at least, our next meeting will be our second annual meeting, followed by a regular meeting. Our second annual meeting, where we'll vote or at least tabulate the votes on the 2026 operating budget, as well as the 3 bylaws amendments. We'll be doing town halls on all of that. In the meantime, I'll work with management to set those up. I think we do 2. I think we do 1 on the budget and 1 on the bylaw. Well, do 2 on each, right? 2 on the budget, 2 on the bylaws amendments. We'll schedule those out. Followed by our regular meeting, and we invite our elected officials. Usually it's our state, local, even town supervisor. I'm very pleased to announce, and I want to publicize this heavily, that our Congressmember Josh Riley from the New York 19th will be joining us. Josh is supposed to get here around 10:30 that morning and give some remarks, district update, and then it will be open questions for members of the community. It's going to be EGPOA members only. But I want to thank Congressman Riley's office for putting that together, and I hope we can get a pretty good turnout for that. So again, that'll be November 16th at our next meeting. Okay. Opening it up for member homeowner comments and questions. Anyone in the room?
I'm sorry.
None?
Oh, before we go, did I thank, when I did events, I want to thank Linda, Sherry, and Celeste. If I did not specifically thank you, you've been running the events all weekend long. So I really sincerely appreciate your help. I don't know if I said it. Okay.
Bye.
My question is, are we thinking about replacing Chet at Wall on? Looking at the homes because this place is starting to fall apart, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
yes, in a sense, and I'll let Nick describe how that looks. It's considered within the operating budget, so that'll go out in the notes. That'll explain the operating budget. It's a good question.
Chet is irreplaceable, but we are going to certainly have a person doing compliance work on a part-time level beginning as late as January, but possibly sooner as we rework some things. So we do have a gentleman identified for that position, and we have that as part of the proposed budget for 26, and we're gonna start even possibly doing some of that work sooner, Bob. So yes, we do have a dedicated person for that, and it'll be part of our safety and compliance work that we'll be doing as we take over security as well for 2026.
All right.
George, sir.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
I didn't see the copy of budget off the top. Anybody said, do they know what the budget is for Lakes Committee?
It is increased to raise to see if we can find it first.
Lakes has been increased from 18,600 to 31,000. And that's not including any of the items that, the committee's gonna come to us for that might be capital items as well.
East Adeline.
Yes, yep, we have in the budget, currently, $3,000 for Adeling and $5,000 for the roundup.
That was part of the increase.
I've said enough and I appreciate your patience with me.
Thanks, Bob.
Appreciate it, Bob.
Was years ago. That was the budget years ago.
It was higher than that, actually.
Much higher than that.
Yeah,
Up to
yeah, that's what we're trying to.
We were able to put carp in then.
Yeah,
And that doesn't include the money that
Yeah, we'll
goes,
be able to put carp back in.
That's what we're gonna do.
Bob, there's also, the 15.7 that goes into the lakes maintenance reserve in addition to that as well, so.
Thanks, Bob. Rich Brown.
I received a notification from New York State Electric and Gas that I have exceeded the amount of electric that I normally spend, utilize. That was when we had a real cold snap came through. I found it interesting that I got it. I didn't even know that I signed up for that kind of alert. But there are people in the community who are always complaining about New York State Electric and Gas. And since there is an alert service, perhaps we could make it their knowledge that they can sign up for it so that they don't get hit with a bill that they don't expect.
We'll see if we can figure that out. I'm not sure whether that's automatic or whether you separately have to sign up for it, but we'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
Not a register.
Mark?
Yeah, I just have a question for Nick. Now that we passed the no phosphorus ban, can we send out an email to all the residents pertaining to that?
Yeah, we'll have to work on putting together an education piece about what it means, and we can work on getting that together. I'll get with Dan and Anthony Manieri, and we'll come up with something and get that approved, and we'll send that out.
That's why we could also give that to whoever takes care of our loans, like, our the loans, I think.
Well, you're obligated now.
Yeah,
Of course.
Okay.
Together on that.
Thanks, Mark. Any other homeowner member questions, comments? Either online or in the room? All right, hearing none. Thanks, everybody. I'll entertain a motion to head into executive session. And clean second, all in favor? Aye. Great.
Everybody.
Take a very quick break here.
Second bathroom?
Yeah. All right, folks, if you're on the Zoom, we're heading into executive session now. We'll just ask you to log off and give you a moment to do that. Thank you. Thanks.
Is that my stuff?
Did you suspend recording?
For today?
Yeah, we have stopped the recording today.
No, this,
Yeah, for today.
the other one went, there was
Yeah.
something here, right?
What?
This is the one we bought?
Yeah, that's what I bought today.
Looks just like mine.